Putting to one side crew and fuel, maintenance is one of the biggest cost items associated with operating business aircraft. To ensure safety, it's not an area of support in which anyone should be cutting corners to economize. So let's talk about how operators can ensure that the maintenance they count on is delivered in as cost-effective a way as possible. AIN reporters tell us that maintenance costs are rising. This is for a number of reasons, and foremost amongst those is the worsening shortage of skilled workers.
Costs of operation are quite important because I believe at some point, even the richest owner of a business jet is just going to throw up their hand and say, I've had it with this, it's just getting nuts. Parts for aircraft are extraordinarily expensive because of the certification process and the extremely low volume in this business. The cost to maintain aircraft keeps climbing, and unfortunately, the number of maintenance technicians has dropped because the industry didn't treat them very well in the past few decades. And as a consequence, fewer people entered the business, and a lot of people retired out of it, especially after the last recession. So right now, there's a scramble to find qualified maintenance technicians. Pay rates are climbing rapidly, and as a consequence, the maintenance labor rates are climbing. One operator of a maintenance business told me he thinks labor rates are easily going to climb into the $200 or $300 an hour range, which when you multiply that by the thousands of hours it takes each year to spend on a private jet, it's going to raise costs considerably.
Joining me today to talk about that are Eric Meitner, an independent consultant who helps operators manage their maintenance requirements, and Mark Wilkin with Elliott Aviation, a leading maintenance repair and overhaul provider. So Eric, let me please start with you. Could you maybe give us, 2 or 3 factors that you think operators and aircraft owners should keep in mind when they're trying to select an MRO provider, things that they should consider?
The first I would say would probably be the convenience of where the place is at. What's it going to cost to get you there? Second would be what is the ability of the shop to get you out on time, because schedule is always important. And then third is cost. Cost is looked at in a lot of different ways. Your biggest value is getting your aircraft out on time so you can use it again.
As a service provider, what sort of things can you do to make sure you do deliver true value in its real sense?
Well, one of the main things is making sure that you truly understand the aircraft model. Each aircraft model has its own unique requirements. You can't be everything to everybody, and you'll specialize in those certain aircraft, and you'll have crews and teams that are trained and really know those airplanes. When you do that, the maintenance event is going to go better, you're going to get a better quality. Overall, it's going to lower costs and give you the best value. So definitely things to consider is how many of those type of airplanes do they normally work on, what's their training in, is this, you don't take a Porsche to a GM shop, or something like that.
Good point. Now, you both mentioned skills there. My understanding is that the industry generally, the maintenance industry, has something of a challenge in terms of getting a good flow of skilled people. So Eric, first of all, how much of an issue is that? Are you seeing a lot of that, the shortage of labor?
I am. I'm seeing it in all the different shops I go to. And it's really coming down to, there was a study recently done, said we're needing over 10,000 people per year. Currently, the schools are only graduating around 6,500 to 6,700 per year. So we're going to have a shortage no matter what. When you start looking at the skill set that these gentlemen and ladies are coming out of school with, they're really not up to speed for what these folks are needing in the jet world. They're just not learning those skills. So you're looking at a 12 to 18 month time from hire end date to where they become efficient and are able to actually take care of an airplane the way they should.
So by that, do you mean that they come out of school, they start work with an MRO, but then they need maybe 12 to 18 months to really get spooled up as a fully qualified person?
Correct. They're already qualified, but it's the efficiency and able to do their job. That's right. Where it comes into.
Right.
And that's a struggle that all the MROs are having. It's not just the OEMs, it's the little mom and pop shops. It's affecting everybody in the industry.
Yeah, good point. So, first of all, does that resonate with you? As as a company? Do you find that a challenge?
Absolutely, it is. It's a daily challenge that we have, is trying to find good, skilled, even from A&Ps to interior techs and avionics and paint technicians and all the different. They're all very, hands-on. They're craftsmen, and it's hard to find these. The other is we go to a lot of the schools, the tech schools for the A&Ps and things, but they're just not getting the students coming into the schools. So what we're doing is actually going to the high schools and doing things like that to try to get that love for aviation and to let them know that these kind of things are out there, and you don't have to go through a 4-year college to go out and get a really good job. So
that's a good point. So you think right at the beginning of the food chain, the problem is younger people just don't seem to be naturally attracted as much to aviation as maybe they were one time. Right?
Absolutely.
Are you seeing that too, Eric?
Well, I'm seeing that, and we're also seeing, I work with our local A&P school a lot, and we're seeing other industries hiring the A&P students straight out of school at higher wages than what the maintenance people are. It's hard to compete with Walt Disney World and, hey, come work on our robotics instead of come work on our 16-year-old Falcon. That's
a fair point.
It's just not the same.
Doesn't have the same appeal, maybe. But,
right.
But money is a factor. Let's not kid ourselves. It isn't. I mean, could ultimately this mean that labor rates for these skilled people start to rise, and that feeds into the overall cost structure of what you do?
It has absolutely,
already.
yes. The wages are definitely moving up, and that's great. And it's actually then some of the labor rates are moving up along with them. And but that's a natural thing that will happen. But we need to have these. We need to attract good, talented people, and if that's what we need to do, because we have to keep the airplanes working, we have to service them.
Right, no choice about that. But for the meantime, in that there is something of a shortage, I mean, does this affect the timings of jobs? I guess, some MROs might think, well, gee, if I had a full complement of, fully up to speed people, I could get this job done in a certain amount of time, but I've got less experienced people, so maybe it's going to take longer.
Yes, and that does play into it. When you've got an experienced person doing the job, you don't have to have someone checking in on them as often. They're able to get in there, get it done. They understand how the manuals work. They understand how the systems work. They're familiar with the product. You take someone who's new to the field, you got to have a senior technician checking on them, making sure they're going down the right path. Because if they go down the wrong path, you've just got a lot of time that's going to go to shop loss and has to be thrown away, or you're going to bill the customer. And if the customer's smart, he's going to look at it, he's going to see that and go, hey, it shouldn't have taken that long, what happened? And he'll start asking the questions. So it does play into it, and it's something that the industry is fighting as a whole.
Fair enough. So Mark, generally speaking, do you find your customers are very cost conscious? Are they paying a lot of attention to what things are costing, or are they more concerned with this better be done the right way?
It's overall. I mean, it's all the above. Yes, they're paying attention. They're looking at parts costing. They're looking at the labor, the amount of labor spent. Looking at the downtimes, and everything provides the total value to it. It's even from our parts, searching other vendors and other suppliers, and maybe PMA part options or overhaul options instead of new. That is all. Customers really appreciate that, so they have options, and that's something that keeps bringing them back.
Good, that's excellent. Well, listen, I really appreciate your expertise there. I mean, clearly, this is a critical part of the industry. It's good to know there are skilled people paying attention to that, and we thank you both for your time, Eric Meitner and Mark Wilkin. Thanks so much, and
thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us and watching this.
Thanks for watching this AIN video. Please like, subscribe, and share it if you've enjoyed it. Also, visit AINonline.com for all the latest on the aviation industry.